I'm Mike Slaw, the founder and CEO of Shift. We're a career advancement company for military members, past and present. I started Shift after serving in the Navy for 5 years as a bomb disposal officer. I felt like I was surrounded by some of the world's best problem solvers, people who could think creatively, non-linearly, and these were the exact type of people that I felt could be really helpful when you're trying to get a new business off the ground or put a new initiative into the world. But the more I spoke with people on active duty service, I realized just how little of the opportunity set they saw, and that's why I decided to start Shift. Shift is a career advancement company where current and former members of the US military discover careers, acquire and demonstrate new skills, and embark upon new job experiences at the best companies in the world. The Defense Ventures program is a collaboration between leading technology companies and some of the most important venture capital firms that finance these companies and the US military and Department of Defense. The Defense Ventures program, also known as the AF Ventures Fellowship, allows some of the emerging leaders in the innovation space within the military to jump into a new environment that's going to be critically important to our national security in the future and get up to speed quickly. We're excited to be telling the story about the year one of this program. One, because we're just so proud that we've put something into the world that we've seen make an immediate difference in some of the hardest problems the Department of Defense is trying to solve. But another reason to tell this story is because what this program can become if we continue to bring in the best emerging leaders from the Department of Defense, if we gain the support from military units to participate, but also if we're able to clearly demonstrate the benefit to partners, venture capital firms, and technology companies that might not have a whole bunch of cross-section or exposure to the military community historically. We're pushing two worlds together who have a sincere interest in figuring the other side out. Some of the best ideas in our nation's history have come from collaborations between the Department of Defense and the technology community. Why hasn't that been the case for the last couple decades? We're on a path right now to regain that momentum and bring incredible innovation to the Defense Department at a time where it's critically important for our national mission. We have to bring the smartest people in our country in the uniform and out of the uniform to attack these problems in support of the national mission. It's been a big year, and we've made a lot of progress in a short period of time. I'm excited to share with you the stories of a number of people who touched this program in their own unique way. Without further ado, let's jump in.
AF Ventures is an opportunity and a reckoning for the DoD to realize that if you want to solve a wicked problem or you want to accelerate change, it all starts with people and relationships.
For us, I think we get a ton of perspective, a lot about how things are done in the military right now. And I think it's just a great learning opportunity on both sides, really.
So Air Force Ventures, the fellowship was amazing. I had the feeling like, ooh, this is an elite group. I have to step my game up.
The Air Force Ventures Fellowship is a really unique opportunity, being able to kind of expand what is in the realm of possible.
So I've been an investor in Shift really since the beginning and have just stayed close with Mike. And when he launched the AF Ventures Fellowship program, he asked if we wanted to take part, and we were all over it. I mean, it wasn't a yes, it was a hell yes for us.
Some of the best ideas come to light and some of the deepest relationships are made when people from completely different industries come together and attack problems from completely different perspectives. And so the fellowship does this. It creates relationships with people who wouldn't have been connected in the first place.
We have a deep belief that our national security can really benefit from the technologies and innovations that are being done in Silicon Valley. In fact, that always used to be the case, that the two work very closely together. But over the last 20, 25 years or so, they've sort of drifted apart. So we've been very interested in making sure that the two things come together, that Silicon Valley meets the DoD. AF Ventures reached out to us in an effort to make the two come together. Most important is that there's a lot of unknowns on the two sides of what the other side actually does. I don't think people fully understand what venture capital and startups are and how do they operate and why are they successful. On the other hand, startups don't really understand what does our military actually do. These people who are sacrificing their lives, putting their lives at risk, spending the youth, in deserts in other parts of the world, what are they facing, and what kind of solutions and technologies would not only make their lives easier, but more importantly, actually in the long term, bring more peace to the world. So a DoD officer, you're just a human at the end of the day. In the same way, CEO of a fast-moving technology company is just human at the end of the day, and you can just talk to each other and understand where you're coming from, what are you trying to achieve. You can actually make not only, strides forward in making the two work together, but actually you can come up with new innovative ideas and solutions that probably didn't exist unless the two of you had talked to each other.
The value for Alpha Bridge of having fellows. So first, just like very practically speaking, we try and embed the fellows immediately. They're part of the team. So they come to all of our deal calls, our partner meetings. They're on the phone with founders, asking questions, diving into the diligence materials, taking part in our investment discussions in terms of whether or not we're gonna invest in a company. In fact, our first fellow, James, he actually brought a deal in that we otherwise wouldn't have seen, and we invested in the company, right? So sort of soup the nuts, he brought a deal in and led it through execution. So from like very practical perspective, we just make them a team member.
What is this value of sending a air refueling pilot into an embedded situation with a venture capital firm? How do those things actually pan out? What's the return on investment for the Air Force or for the DoD? And I think you really have to look at it from a long game perspective. In 5 to 10 years, ostensibly, we'll be the commanders. We'll be at the helm of leadership. And I think the same can be said for a lot of the people that we worked with in the Valley, and we've forged real relationships with them, real people discussing the needs of what the DoD requires, where venture and technology can intersect to satisfy those needs. That's where it pays off. When those seeds kind of blossom into greater authority or leadership down the road, that they can come together and form a really powerful effect.
There's a few reasons why Defense Ventures is an exciting opportunity for Shift to pursue. Number one, all of these relationships that we're making with our fellows and with the host venture capital firms who are bringing military talent into their ecosystems for the very first time eventually flows through to our core business of helping companies start or grow veteran hiring initiatives. The more leading investors who understand the value of military talent, the more likely it is that they'll encourage their portfolio companies to consider military talent as a source of untapped human capital and build workforces that reflect the rich diversity of the customers that they serve. We're looking for diversity of thought, diversity of background, and diversity of focus within a military experience.
One of the goals of Shift was to create the most diverse cohorts, which reflects the military and even on a greater scale, obviously, society. And what that has enabled these cohorts to do is really to create this amplification of ideas, of solutions, and of respect. And companies we have seen who drive diversity into the culture of the foundation of the company at the earliest stages are those that outperform others as they scale. I'd like to speak to two of the fellows that I have had the honor of working with, both women, both what I call female forces, but these two women in particular, Lara, Bizik. Lara is a naval aviator, and she was incredibly tactical and has a business degree as well.
Interested in the startup space and venture capital for a while, and this was a really natural meeting of my background as a pilot in the Navy, my work on Capitol Hill, and really joining that together with the technology sector to create an ecosystem of innovation. I also really enjoy working with a portfolio company in the industrial lubricant space. They're a really innovative firm and have developed unique technology that they are most certainly going to change the world with. I was able to work with the management team of that firm to identify opportunities within the Department of Defense and kind of draw from my experience flying in the Navy to consider potential applications and use cases for this technology.
Obviously, I did realize there was an application to the military. However, it was so vast I couldn't possibly comprehend. And Lara, being the heat-seeking missile that she is, basically locked in on the corrosion application. And she just facilitated this compelling conversation and unlocked a number of potential applications, exploring the airframe application and also ships.
We're creating this bridge between the day-to-day challenges that occur within the Department of Defense in people's very unique jobs and translating those issues to the civilian sector and specifically finding ways for technology to solve some of those problems.
Lara proceeded to follow up, to continue to educate them. And it was just a seamless transition of education from her military background, her military expertise, to be able to explain, introduce, and then educate, explain how this application could succeed. So that was Lara. So Crystal blew my socks off. We're talking about 22 years serving this country. She is a logistician. She works in procurement and transportation. She was part of the COVID response in terms of the distribution of resources during that time for the White House. But more than everything, what Crystal is she thinks on her feet, and she is not scared of really anything, which of course makes perfect sense. This woman has served in Afghanistan. She has served in Africa. She is now presently serving in Istanbul. She is, she embodies grit.
And so when I was paired with Jillian's one of their managing partners, and she's absolutely amazing. But I was able to participate on many of her calls. And so this is with their portfolio companies. And during the calls, I was able to give my insight from a DoD perspective or just from my experiences in the past. And in short, I was able to glean exactly what venture capital entails. I consider myself, I say that I have a growth mindset. And with the growth mindset, I am consistently looking for ways to become just a better version of myself. So I recall during the introductions, I told the cohort that I didn't have much background in tech and I wasn't tech savvy at all. And that was one of the reasons why I was interested in the fellowship. I knew that it would help improve my skills in a different arena. And then overall, when you improve your skills, you become a more value-added team member. So that's both for DoD and any teams that I'm a part of. And then personally, it would help me prepare for different pursuits I want to have even beyond the military. So it was perfect.
And at first, she did share with me that she did not have the technical background and for potentially some of these conversations. Well, that's ridiculous, because the fact is that she brought so much more than some coding classes, and not to minimize, the engineers. But if you don't have the experience that she has, if you are able to survive and provide and really help others to survive, right? Well, then that's an application of skills that you're bringing to a company, that you're bringing to a problem that nobody else can bring. And I find it fascinating that people do not understand someone like Crystal, who is, for me, educated me every single day.
Some of the participants in this program are afforded experiences that have stunned me. They're sitting around the table with venture capitalists, providing feedback on deals, the types of experiences that you wouldn't even get in a top-tier MBA program. We are bringing this level of access and exposure to anybody in the military who views innovation and getting close to emerging technologies as critically important to the national mission. The value for host companies takes on a bunch of different dimensions. Some of these partner companies, this is their first real exposure to military talent, to military backgrounds. We see some of the most iconic venture capital firms that haven't had an easy way to access the defense innovation and military ecosystems. And this is their wedge into that world that felt like a speeding train before.
Being the chief of innovation means that I get to come to work every day and have fun. I spend a lot of time with airmen figuring out what their problems are, where their pain points are, and then my job is to know how to connect them to people. So either community partners, or if I'm connecting them with a company in Silicon Valley, just looking for those opportunities for them to work with someone who can help them save time, be more effective. It's a lot of fun to get airmen to come into the lab and be able to just help them run down a problem. You know, the Department of Defense is a big organization, and we've been doing the same things for a long time, and it's very easy to, you know, with any large company, to become entranced in what you do and to become comfortable. And at a certain point, you look around at your competition and you realize that you've been comfortable for too long. And that's basically where we find ourselves with innovation now. It's time to realize that we need to stop being comfortable.
The example that's pointed to a lot is DJI in the drone space, right? There wasn't enough avenues for the Air Force to get involved with this kind of prosumer level drone industry early. It just didn't make that much sense. Maybe they could make some early investments, but there's not really any way to hook that to procurement. And it's a perfect example of, now we've got, the best technology capabilities in this space from a Chinese company, and we've got a lot of issues now with US military or government entities wanting to be able to use what's the best and the cheapest and potentially not being able to use it. So really happy to see the direction, happy to see the programs, happy to see things like Agility Prime putting the same kind of emphasis on the UAM space. And I think from my perspective right now, other branches are also kind of upping their game in the innovation space, but it kind of looks like the Air Force is leading the way, which I'm happy about, being former Air Force as well. Trying to encourage innovation in the military, I think, is going to be a great result of this program, and probably a primary aim, right? Getting people who are active duty to go and work at top tech companies, or to think about how people make investments and how people take an idea from just an idea to something big and real and impactful. I hope and I believe the impact is going to be that filters back into the Air Force and into different military branches.
Going to the fellowship, I never considered myself creative or thought of myself that way, but going to the fellowship kind of gives you that permission to see yourself as creative and to see yourself as an innovator, someone who likes to solve problems, and give you an opportunity to bridge that divide. There are amazing, smart people in Silicon Valley who are solving very difficult problems, and there are amazing, smart people in the Department of Defense. And these two communities look completely different, or at least you would think that on the surface. But when you get these two groups together like we did at the fellowship, and we're all just sitting around the table talking, you realize we're just people. The differences begin to melt away really quickly, and you realize you're just a group of people working together and wanting to solve problems. That's a lot of fun, and that's part of the unique value that F Ventures brings.
There's a couple things I'm excited for the future of Defense Ventures. One, it's almost impossible for me to even wrap my head around the impact that our alumni will create. I look at the impact that Cohort 1 has created in just several months after their fellowship has ended, and you're already seeing signs of them contributing at the white-hot core of innovation that impacts our national mission in tremendously positive ways. Additionally, I'm looking forward to more people having access to what I think is an innovation masterclass. People from all parts of Silicon Valley, New York City, Austin, and every major venture capital and technology ecosystem in America are throwing their full support behind this program. We've got a full slate of hosts, a waiting list of hosts who are eager to participate and get access to the military's best and most innovative talent.
There's kind of an unwritten agreement among all the fellows that, the fellowship doesn't end when the fellowship ends. As this alumni grows and grows, and as we're doing more and more capstones and more projects, and as that network grows, there's going to be a critical mass where we're actually making significant change across the DoD.
My time in the military is not something that I'm going to leave behind and walk away from. I know that I will continue to be involved in defense and the innovation space, even working in the private sector. And I think that the alumni network and the fellowship group will allow me and my fellow cohort members to do that as well when they transition.
We're going to be the generals of the future, the SESs of the future. They're going to be political appointees at some point, and they're going to get this experience. They're going to maintain that experience and build on it for decades, hopefully. We always want our fellows to learn something now and then build on the future. The same way that you would build on your college degree or your master's program. It's not once you're done with this program, you can dump the knowledge. This is something that we want people to build on now and forever.
Thanks so much for spending time with us today. You're onto something when you look back at what you've done over the past year and you think that could have only been possible with 10 years of work. Then you look forward into the future and what's possible, and it almost is unrecognizable, the impact that we can create together in partnership with the Department of Defense and the technology community. I know that I'm going to look back years in the future and know that this was one of the most rewarding professional experiences that I ever dedicated my full force and my full effort to. And we're not going to stop. We are just getting started. Thanks again.